All right, everyone. Welcome back to Onslaught with another faction focus, and this time with the shiniest of boys, and girls, the Custodes. Joining us, we have Mr. Steve Trimble again, and
Hello,
you guys know him, Jake from our Tuesday shows, who's as he says, Custodes player. So supposedly. So Jake, starting with you, if people want to find you or hear more from you, is there how would one do that?
That's the deep part. You don't. I'm kidding. I like I bounce around. I'm in a couple of servers, but typically if you can reach out to any of the Onslaught guys, you can get to me. I'm in Steve's server, obviously. So if you ping me there, I'm there as well. Yeah. Just if you are in one of those servers that can ping me, I'm there. But other than that, I'm kind of just all over the place.
Yeah, Steve. I run the Deploying the Line YouTube channel and Discord server, I guess, attached to the YouTube. I've been on here before, but we're just about me doing hyper-competitive stuff and helping people, doing coaching and all that jazz. So that's where you'll find me. Post a video every couple days, especially in 11th edition coming up. And I am a big Custodes guy. Used to be my most played army, and it is still my favorite army. Just not recently, for reasons we'll get into.
Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us as always. And for sure, go check out Steve's channel. I personally enjoy it. I actually just watched one of his newer videos this morning, and it was terrifyingly informative for what may be coming 11th. Based off of the faction focuses or the faction Warcom articles we've seen. Also, make sure to like this video, share your thoughts in the comment section with us. It helps YouTube realize we actually exist, which is super nice. But to the main event, why everyone's here. Starting with you, Steve, you said it was your favorite army for a while, and you still like it. So what grabbed you about the Custodes? What drew you to it?
Yeah, so I started competitive, really competitive Warhammer in 8th edition, and I was playing Tau. Which is weird if anyone knows me nowadays. Probably because I didn't actually know what I liked. But Tau was interesting to me because 8th edition Tau, it's a lot different than current Tau. It was a tanky army, it wasn't high damage. So if you ever hear people complaining about drones because of 8th edition, so I quite like that. But, I was running an army of, 3, essentially 6 vehicles and a million little dumbasses walking around. So I'm like, I went into 9th edition, the instant 9th edition came out, I'm like, what is the most elite army I could play? That's also interesting, and Custodes was very obvious for that reason. So I just, on a whim, decided to play Custodes, and it instantly became my most favorite army in the game. I essentially made it my main, and though having to play kind of an anemic 8th edition codex, it's similar to what we're doing now, where we're going to be playing old codexes in 11th edition. That's how 9th edition worked. We played 8th edition codexes in 9th edition, but playing the anemic 8th edition codex in 9th edition. But I played it for enough and won enough events where I got best in faction Custodes for 2021 or whatever, which was really exciting. There was a lot of. I don't recommend going for best in faction awards. They're very annoying to get. You have to force yourself to play in a bad army at the time if they are bad at every event. But that's what I wanted to do, so I did it. And then also at the beginning of 10th edition, which is where Custodes were really cool. I won the first GW event, Tacoma, with them in the evil island of Eldar. I had to play against 5 Eldar players at that event, for God's sakes. But yeah, so that's me, the Custodes. They're my most favorite army. It's just, I'll say it up front, I think they have the worst codex at 10th edition, design and pretty much balance, so it's been not a fun endeavor since the codex came in. But we'll talk about the index, because the index was awesome.
Yep. No. A little bit later on in the show, you said we will talk about the Custodes Codex and maybe some failure points of GW on it. But moving over to Jake, I know you as a Custodes player. It's when we met, was at across the table from each other playing Custodes. So what drew you into them?
So funny enough, speaking of the 10th edition Codex, right? I started the game in January of last year, right? So I'm a little over a year in, and funny enough, when I actually got the models built and able to play on the table, that was the point in 10th edition where Blade Champ had just lost his ability to reroll his advances as well as the charges. So quite literally, I believe that I joined at unironically Custodes' absolute lowest point. Before Lions, right after Blade Champ lost ability to reroll advances 2. I think that was arguably the lowest point we joined. However, they were and still are my favorite boys, particularly because I got into the game from Space Marines 2, and I was like, oh, well, this looks like a fun game, but I want to know the lore before I play it. Little did I know what I was getting into, right? So jumped down that rabbit hole, and it was cool, right? And I didn't know anything about Custodes, so I was super into the Ultramarines and the Victrix standing behind Captain Araman or whatever his name is, like in the Space Hulk bridge. So I thought they were really sick with their shields and their little beaky masks. You know, I thought they were awesome. And then like they're like posed up there on the lethal difficulty. I was like, yeah, that's dope. Yeah, and then I figured out what Custodes were, and I was like, oh shoot! I was like, I like that. I like that a lot, and I thought that was awesome. I loved every bit of. I love the aspect of that, right? And then like I also really like the play style of a hyper elite army. I like having all of my units be functionally like kill bricks to a degree, you know. And then I also am a 2-up or bust, so I like 2-up saves.
True.
I like hitting on 2s.
Twos are very nice.
2s are great because I'm gonna be honest, unless I'm re-rolling all of it with 3s, I don't want it. Just because I feel like I math it a lot better. I'm able to, just overall like statistics and BS on the table. It helps me a little bit. I mean, not against some crabs, you know, like at all. But hey, but I thought that they were a cool faction for the lore, and so I played them for a while. And then I realized that with their current rules, Space Marines can just play exactly how I want to play them, but with Victrix and better. And I'm like, oh, cool. Okay. So I'm praying they fix us in 11th and they make us into like the golden demigods are supposed to be. Be really awesome. But that's how I got into Custodes and why they're my favorite. And I've been trying to keep myself up to date on all of their lore across the table, because Constantine Valdor is my favorite character in all of 40K, hands down.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's certainly, you know, like you just heard from both of you gentlemen, many selling points. You know, it's the lore, it's the aesthetic, it's just their rules. Like, that has been a trend. I've been playing since 8th edition. I started right after Index Hammer stopped and Codex started getting released for 8th. And Custodes is one of the earliest armies that a friend of mine got. And 8th, 9th, and 10th, even with their less than stellar codexes, their numbers are always just better. Now, there's less of them on average. We'll also talk about that on average here in a bit, I think. But yeah, like you said, hitting on 2s, wounding most things on 3s, if not 2s as well, depending on your target and your weapon. They are I think, you know, as Steve said, elite army, and the other word usually comes next to them is efficient, whether you're talking about their durability or their offense. So now, 10th, they've had a bumpy road, but one word you could use is dynamic for them over the course of Index to now.
It has been dynamic changes. I would not describe them as dynamic now.
No. Dynamic in playing them from 3 years ago to now.
Very much so.
I almost had a little chuckle when you lumped in good durability in the mix.
They technically do. It's just an issue of the design of the game where things just kill no matter what.
Look, man.
Yeah.
Index
the Fireler is going to sneeze its little Hades cannon over that way and just accidentally kill him.
The Defiler wouldn't kill -1 damage 10-man custodian guard. But alas, you don't have that anymore.
Well, speaking of all of this, you know, both of you gentlemen, you know, played it in the Index of 10th and throughout, you know, at different times throughout 10th. So, starting back with you, Steve, you know, you said you won the first GW event. Kind of just give everyone a highlight of your road of Custodes over 10th edition.
Yeah, so I'll talk about what I like. So what I like in 40K is Custodians, but I like durable, foot slogging infantry units that can kill things. So I don't like Bulgrin. I don't like Deathwing Knights because they're durable and they're foot slugging, but they're slow as shit and they can't kill anything. Like Custodians, that's like the direct definition. And then it was Plague Marines in 9th edition. So I like that style of 40k. So we got to 10th edition, and Custodians got their index, and it was a giant glow up from the 9th edition codex after it was nerfed a million times. 9th edition codex was very good. I love it, but it was essentially play bikes until GW said you weren't allowed to play bikes anymore, and then play Custodian Warden spam just because they have a 4 attacks when everything else had 3. So it came out, and we had a bunch of cool rules. So we had at will fight first. We had resurrect a model, which is super awesome for, you know, just staying alive and doing movement shenanigans. We had -1 damage at will, combined when free strats and duplicating strats was so incredibly broken, because at the time it was literally when you use the free strat ability, like on a Space Marine Captain, it was free, not just -1 CP, and you can also duplicate it. So hypothetically, you could spend 6 CP worth of strats for free in the same turn if you had 3 captains. So I thought of all the ideas. I was like, okay, what we're dealing with right now is we're dealing with evil GAC coming 3 inches away and throwing 6d6 plus 10 damage 2 shots that reroll everything, and infinitely come back. And then obviously we're dealing with Eldar Wraith Knights. These models are very good at killing like 5-mans and, you know, vehicles, like 5-mans like Custodians, you know, like call 5-man intercessor with no effort. But like these type of things, like durable vehicles, elite 5-mans, things that don't have durability buffs. But when you have like a 10-man and it both has the highest OC in the game because you're an OC 30 squad, they shoot incredibly hard because it's 10 models with 4 rules to wound, shooting twice from 24 inches away. You become a very efficient like stat brick coming at the enemy. So instead of taking a lot of MSU 3 and 5-mans, which was popular at the time, kind of what like the identity, what people thought custodians were in the index, I just said take 30 custodian guard, all with captains. Funny story about that, I actually brought Chajin instead of 3 captains because he had pure ignore mods in the index, not just some more hit mods he does now. But it wasn't codified how ignored mods worked exactly. So I got to the event and they told me his ability didn't work. He said it only ignores hit mods. And I'm like, because I brought him to ignore -1 damage and an AOC on the Wraith Knights. So I essentially was at that event with a handicap too, which is really funny. So I would not have brought Trajan if they said that. But so I had 3 squads of 10 dudes led by 3 characters and like 3 squads of sisters and 2 policemen. That was my whole list. It was essentially 3 units of like 4 dumbass units walking around. And I, you know, had to go beat the event. You had a lot of benefit. Obviously, the fight first strat, I will say, I think is overhyped, but it did allow you to just nay on melee units. The strat was if you control an objective, 2 CP, you get fight first. Which obviously a lot of people did not know to play around it or physically couldn't play around it if they were pure melee army. So you didn't have to worry about that aspect for Custodians, and you were also 10 3-wound models that could have -1 damage at will anyway, so you physically couldn't die to melee. So you didn't have to worry about that. So I only had to focus about how to beat the gun armies, and that's when I figured out the 10-mans is how you can do it. Because like I said, an Eldar army can kill like a 10-man. By the time they kill a 10-man, they have 15 or 20 Custodians in their DZ by that time, tabling them. Which is how every game I played versus Eldar went, because I played them 5 or 6 times that event. And it was super fun. Like I said, there was a lot of it. We also had a -1 to hit Catan melee, by the way, that they took away because they hate us. That shit was awesome. That worked on Land Raiders too, because Land Raiders know karate.
Yep.
So like I said, that index had a lot of like dynamism because you had all these rules that were amazingly good. You had the 4-up against mortal wounds baseline as your detachment ability, which is a much better ability than at will strat, because like spending 1 CP to ignore half your opponent's grenade is like the worst use of a CP in general. But just having a 4 feel no pain always is very useful. Like I said, this is also combined with old dev wounds that spilled over. So it made Custodians were the most durable thing in the game versus that type of profile. You're -1 damage, you rest them all, you had a 4 feel no pain. So it helped a lot. And then you had all these nice strats. Like I said, the rest strat was immense because like if your opponent killed 1 to 2 of your models, they just essentially lost the game. You're like, okay, here's +4 to my charge, and I'm going to go charge you. Because I was also, I was playing captains only. There was no blade champions. I just moved sick, so people could technically pre-measure me. That added a lot of movement tricks that we didn't usually have. And like I said, we had the good durability and damage increases. We had 1 CP, I'm pretty sure we had +1 to wound, and then 1 CP +1 attack, and if you're under half strength, +2 attacks. Like if someone killed like 5 custodians, the other 5 would have 6 attacks each with sus, lethal, reroll all wounds, and just kill God. Actually, it'd be 7, save 5 baseline.
That is the worst timeline.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was the worst because this is also when captains were useful. They gave you 2 katas at all times, so you were always like sus -1 to hit, and then once per game he gave you all 3 katas. So you're like sus lethal -1 to hit, +2 attacks, 4 rolls to wound. You did a lot. It was super cool and very fun. But then a lot of other things were technically useful. The finals was a custodian mirror where he had a Laris, I didn't, and I won. But it showed that other unit. The only thing that was staunchly unplayable were bikes. And we saw them. They super buffed bikes later in the edition. We saw how bad they currently are. Still, they're awful. The funny story about bikes, it was the only mounted unit that I can think of that did not get a toughness increase because they were T6. They just stayed the same stat because they were purposely just neutered out of existence because GW was mad about 9th edition because bikes were so good.
There's one other unit, and it's the Seekers of Slanesh. They stayed T4, but
the Demon are T3. That's +1 toughness.
Oh, I thought you meant from a previous edition. Okay, yeah.
No, I just mean in general. They didn't get a stat increase for being on a vehicle like every other mounted in the game does. And they also technically didn't get a wound because they had 4 wounds, and the Custodian Shield has 4 wounds. So they were the worst statted thing in 40k. But everything else was good. Like all the characters was good, which directly compares to now where Custodians, I'll explain this later, have the worst characters in 40k. And we had a lot of things. So I really love the index. Like I said, I won the first golden ticket event ever. It was really fun because that was the first time they did Worlds. And that was very exciting. And then the army, they got nerfed quite quickly. Essentially a couple of weeks after Tacoma, they said no more 10 mans, 5 mans only. I was like, damn.
You can blame this guy specifically for that change.
Some other people were doing it afterwards, but yeah, that was directly. It's usually kind of what happens if you win an event. GW kind of nerfs the shit out of your army right after, unless it's like a very niche thing. Like, yeah, we know that army's not that good because when Fulgur won Worlds with Custodes like 2 years ago or whatever, Custodes were still not a good army, so they didn't like nerf the shit out of them afterwards, thankfully. But usually, if you win a GW event, your army does not live very long afterwards.
Yep. Quick question: you said 2 cops. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so the best unit in 40k used to be the Exaction Squad. So right now there are the the space cops for agents. They're split into 3 day sheets. It's called like subductors, extractors, or whatever. RBDs, the RBDs. So they used to be 5 mans instead of locked 10 mans. They were 5 mans and they were 35 points. They also had a 4-up save, which had a 3-up in cover. Because this was also combined when anti-loss essentially had no penalty and towering just gave you x-ray vision, and they had a 5-up feel no pain, and they also had like good bolters. So they were like the most efficient unit in 40k. Everyone brought 2 of them, because like I said, it was a 35 points for 5 dudes, 7 points a model with a good save, a feel no pain, and some good shooting. Because they had a grenade launcher, a stubber, and 3 bolters. It was very funny. That was just my little duders standing in the backfield. I won the finals because Strat reserved them and brought them into we were playing on like Crucible, and I brought them into like the top left corner, and he could not get there, and I just stole his objective and got like 30 points from them. That was fun. Little space cops versus the Doom. And then that unit is like the most nerfed unit. GW said 10 mins only like 120 points. We're like, oh.
Yeah, now most people, if they do take one, they take the other one with the dog, so you get 11.
Yeah,
11
okay, I get the shield and
Doggy.
sword guy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the little history of the index, and that's what was fun. Like I said, that lasted till January, so it was edition came out in like July, so it was about
July came in.
Yeah, about 4 or 5 months later, they were still pretty cool. They were heavily nerfed. GW nerfed the hell out of them. What's actually funny is, like I told you, I was playing 30 Custodian Guard, which is, if you played against Custodian recently, same models. The current best Custodian build is not 30 Custodian Guard, but it's 6 squads of small Custodian Guard, 4 to 5 men, and it's like 26 or 27 of them. So we're kind of back to the good old days. But what's more funny is my Custodian Guard, when I went to Coma, were 45 points, And the ones now, they went back up, and GW nerfed them. They were 37 points like a month ago per model. That's how like kind of in the dumps custodians were, where they had to be one of the cheapest Terminator style models in the game.
Elite army.
Yeah. They're good now as a one static build, and I'll explain why. I've done many team events playing custodians with land raiders, and I've gone best overall a couple times, and I don't think I've lost a team event game playing custodians. We'll talk about that later. But so they do have we're not just dooming here. We'll talk about the good build, but I don't know. I want to tell you guys the facts straight up about the sad little custodians of 10th edition.
And as we kind of hinted at, that custodians have had a dynamic roller coaster of, heights and lows, and like just like weird, like Folger winning worlds with custodians dreadnoughts of all things. Which props to him. He's a fantastic player in his own right, but then just taking, 8-9 custodian robots and just like, all right, I'm just gonna win this. And then, like you said, going kind of like almost full circling back to where you started with a winning build. But before we finish this circle, Jake, you've had a bit of a different experience with custodians over 10th. You weren't here for the index brokenness, so
no sir.
You mind sharing your experience with them?
So, I mean, I didn't get to know all the fun stuff, so I just kind of was very much just, okay, this is just how it is. And I also was very new to the game, so I was just kind of just floating around trying to figure out a play pattern and a kind of like list dynamic and style that I like that fits me, right? Because I'm a very firm believer in that, like, you can go and you can copy meta builds all you want, right? You can play Steve's triple defiler list, right? And all this other fun stuff, his Drukari stuff. You can copy somebody else's list, right? But you're not going to run it to the same efficiency as these players. One, because of the skill gap, most likely, but then also because of the fact that, like, natively you don't know all the puzzle pieces and how it all intertwines like the back of your hand. And so I feel like when you go and you make your own list, right, and you know how all of these pieces fit together, right, I feel that natively you play better because you just know what your guys are there to do a lot more than if you were to copy a list, right? And the more you can tune your list to your personal play style and how you like to play the game, the more you'll just accidentally make the right moves because it plays into how you like to play the game and how your play style is supposed to be played. So if your list complements your play style, right, you typically do the moves you're supposed to, even when you get a little flustered and things start to go a little like haywire. And you're like, okay, I actually did. Okay, well, we got here somehow, right? But so I've kind of messed around with it, and I was a big fan of Trajan and his 12 attacks because he's super cool, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then I was like, yeah, but he's really slow. I didn't like that. And I really liked grav tanks. Those were cool. I love grav tanks. And so I was like, okay, those are nice. And so I kept the grav tanks because the grav tanks just have always been my babies, always been good. And I like Trajan's group. I wanted to have Trajan, but he was just slow. So I was like, okay, well, oh, hey, look, there's a land raider. That gives movement. That's kind of cool. So then I kind of just turned my list into 2 tanks, a land raider, and then Trajan and boys inside of a land raider, a blade champ group, and then Draxus and friends, and then 2 little sisters unit, one to sit on home, a witch seekers for my natural, and then my favorite unit in all of 40K, actually, out of all the data sheets, I love in Lions. So going into the future a little bit, in Lions, the Aloris shield captain with Admon Immortus with the big axe, right, and 2 Aloris. Call me crazy, but it's a 250 point unit, right? The captain lets him rapid for free, and then you can heroic for a CP if you'd like to, right? And then he goes and he typically cleans up, because no matter what, when you heroic with that unit, right, more than not, if you did it right, they're not going to be able to swing many models into the Aloris group, and so odds are they probably won't. But God forbid, if their entire unit could swing into them, I don't even think they would, because you'd want to charge or attack what you would just charge regardless. But say you had a whole bunch of like volume and you could do both, you still won't kill the captain because the captain just won't die. You can pop the ability if you need to.
What's his ability, Jake?
It makes everything -1 damage. Or sorry, to go to damage 1 just for his model only.
Yeah, it's a good ability.
Yeah, it's a great ability. And
you can duplicate it because it's Lions. Lions has a strat that lets you redo a character ability. So you can pop that ability and then pop the strat again and do it again next turn.
My own 2 cents. Funniest thing to see, watch the custodian player charge Scarbrand, not kill him, and then look at the opponent and say, cool, flat damage 6? No, flat damage 1.
Yeah, so you swoop that guy.
And then Scarbrand doesn't kill him.
Yeah. And so the captain typically and the Aloris typically clean up whatever they heroiced into, and then because it's Aloris, it's the end of your opponent's fight phase, right? So you can pick them back up, put them into reserves, or you can keep them there if you want to. I've had games where I go and like a game against Dark Angels one time, right? I flew them down just as like kind of a deterrent of like, hey, yeah, if you get a little greedy and push those ICC and Lion out a little too far and try to go for Draxus and people behind this wall with your advancing charge, right? You just lose everything next turn. And so then he didn't take the bait, right? He went somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I just picked him back up. And flat 4 damage on an axe is nice. And then also for the fact that you can give it sus and it gets full rerolls against monster character vehicle units. And then also he gets all 6 of his attacks again when he fights on death. I mean, not a double activation, obviously, right? But like if he were to die first, you fight on death on a 2-up with the strat, right? So he's goated, and then he's hard to kill, almost never dies. And then I also get to use my Valdor model, which I mentioned he's my favorite character in all of 40K, because he's a great proxy, because still 40mm base, giant axe, so looks the part, and so I get to throw my favorite model around, and he does work for me.
Slightly smaller, but decent buff for that is in 11th edition, once those characters, you're talking about fighting on death, since those characters are always part of their units, they either captains leading guard or bad guys leading Alarises, they'll always have their 4 rolls to wound, which will impact Mr. Jake over here. That's quite a fun thing to think about.
Real quick, Jake, you mentioned 2 units that were left out of Steve's analysis, and I was hoping you'd bring them up because they are quite iconic to, I would hazard to say, 95% of Custodes lists pre what we're going to talk about here in a bit. That is the Graph tanks. You want to elaborate on those a bit because those are terrifying in their own right.
So, honestly, I've seen mass infantry lists for Custodes, right? And like Venatari spam with lots of like dudes running around, Alaris. I feel like a lot of the times when people don't run Graph tanks, right? You just give your opponent free board to do whatever they want with their vehicles, because it's like, okay, you can't do anything from a range and you're pre-measurable, because that's how our army is pretty much outside of Blade Champ, which even then is still pre-measurable. So having Grav tanks, which are 4 shots at strength 12, AP 3, D6 plus 2, twin linked with lethals against monsters and vehicles. They're a very spicy, like little backline fire. They make your opponent respect your lanes. Now, I mean, they're not defilers. They get the exact same profile, but with full rerolls to hit with Abaddon, and then full rerolls to wound.
Yours is plus 2 damage.
And then you also get critical hits with lethal sus on 5-ups.
Calm down.
One good thing about Graph tanks and models like that is, one, Custodians are technically less impacted by cover than most armies because they'll just hit on 3s with the new 11th edition cover. But also, I'm pretty sure like Slower Spearhead or something, one of the attachments I don't play too often, has an ignore mods strat or like hit mod strat. So now you can have a Grab tank hitting on 2s, and then it's, your opponent isn't going to cuck you with a Land Raider rolling a 4 to save on cover because AP3. So that's a decent buff for like last cannon type vehicles next edition. You Grab tank, you just
mods and ignore cover.
Well, that's the same thing next edition. Whatever. But no, you can have your Grab tank hit on 2s and put them on a 5 or a 6-up save and just easily one-shot it instead of just getting a 4-up saved, which is quite impactful next edition.
Yep, and it's not even it was good like anti-elite stuff. Like I saw opponents shoot into a unit of like 5-man, a 6-man, like what is it, the Dark Angels Terminators, And they're like, all right, we're -1 damage, and the Custodes player's like, I'm D6 plus 2, D6 plus 1, I don't care.
Quite good profile into those Deathwing Knights.
Yeah, that doesn't kill them, but drop 2, maybe 3 if you're lucky, and then your charge will kill them. So
also, grab things are a big benefit. Sorry, or I just want to say this: a big benefit of the pivot change, because we learned this week that pivot doesn't require any inches now. So grab tank is, I think, the longest model in 40k besides maybe a squig, because it's on a knight base and it's longer than a knight base. I think the new one's slightly updated, but we're not using that base yet. But currently, the grab tank is on a knight base, but it's like 3 inches above it. It's like super fucking long. So it's like one of the most realistic long models of 40k, so you can pivot and gain a bunch of inches. So that'll be a nice thing to see next edition.
I think the only thing longer than it is the Tantalus.
Yeah, which doesn't exist anymore. The like realistic, like non-legends models. Like obviously, like Baneblade's longer, but I'm talking like a normal model you might see. I think maybe the kill rig might be longer. Yeah, look how big that thing is. The kill rig might be longer, but they're very similar. They're both 2 of the longest models in freaking 40k. They're like 9 inches long. They're so big.
Yeah. Also, they are fly, which is pretty neat because now they can blade through walls.
They have fly? Are you sure?
They do. Yes.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they do.
And also on another thing, right? Pure speculation, but also because I wanted a reason to get one. So currently the Cornus Grav Carrier is just like a 200 points worse Land Raider, because all it does is it's a Land Raider but with a 5-up invuln, and it's got like
it doesn't have the Land Raider ability though. That's the main reason why.
No.
Yeah, it has reroll wounds.
It has reroll wounds in the shooting phase only against a target that it shot. Right.
For those Sagittarium that are going to be legends.
Which guess what? Guess what our guard do natively? They reroll wounds.
Yeah, or Alaris. Yeah. The only thing you can put in there that don't reroll wound is Wardens, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Oh my God, my bolters that are currently in 10th effectively AP 0.
Well, they're about to be a lot better. So
Jake, I don't want to hear
another thing. I want to give you hyped about Lions, because I don't know if Lions is a 2 or 3 DP. It's probably 3. But Lions, the +1 to hit has been fucking useless for Custodians themselves, but now it'll work in the shooting phase, and you'll go back to hitting on 2s and essentially ignoring cover. It's quite a big impact. So like Alaris will actually shoot people, and Lions like to hit on 2s, reroll wounds, and the AP 1 and 2 guns they have will actually kill the shit out of people. That's a nice thing to see next edition.
Definitely. But that Cornus Grav Carrier, if it gets an updated data sheet, I'm just saying it's a transport that Kool-Aid's man through walls.
Yeah, the fly thing is impactful. To be fair, Kyle, this is a little slow. They only moved 10. They used to move 14 last edition, by the way. They were fast as fuck. The Caldas was also the best model in 8th edition. It was like the first beta model, and they nerfed it like 7 times. It was very funny. Like every balance that was nerfing the Grav Tank, because that's when it came out. It came out in 8th edition. Well, Custodes came out in 8th edition, to be fair. But yeah, so that's a lot of exciting changes for the fly, vehicles we have randomly.
The other model you mentioned is, as we said, Custodes characters are a little less than what they should be, let's say, or after the Codex came out. But Custodes does have one notable character that makes almost every list, and that was Draxus, who you mentioned. Who is Draxus in the Custodian Codex, Jake?
Draxus was in Steve's list, by the way. Don't know can't remember if you dropped her for something, but anyways.
No, I'm still playing her.
Yeah, so Draxus is just effectively like our best character, I'd argue, within reason. She used to be what's her points now? 105?
115.
115,
yeah. Costs more than a shield guy nowadays.
She used to be 95 points, right?
She was 75 in the index, all of you know.
Yeah. So she was 95 points used to be, but now she's 115, and she would give a unit in your command phase on a 2-up, 18-inch lone op. So now you're
it's her unit, not a unit. It's got to be her leading unit.
Yeah, her unit. Yeah. So she gives you her unit an 18-inch lone op, which effectively now lets your not so very unkillable golden boys play a little bit more flex and play off a lone op, which is very useful. And play in positions where they normally wouldn't be able to go out to. And then she's got 4 shots that hit on 3s, AP 0, damage 2, but it's anti-infantry 4-up with dev wounds, right? And so with Lions, right, she now +1 to hit and +1 to wound. She's now, oh, and these are strength 4, by the way. She now gets those 4 shots and then get to reroll the wounds with her Custodian Guard squad. And these are all flat 2 damage dev wounds that are hitting on 2s and then rerolling the wound roll for 4-ups for devs for flat 2. And then something really spicy, she's got 6 shots at strength 6, hitting on 3s down to 2s now. AP 0, damage 2, but it's sustain hits 2. So sus 2, and it's all flat 2, strength 6 +1 to wound and shooting is kind of crazy. And then you realize that, oh wait, we get to shoot twice.
From the Custodian Guard rule.
Exactly.
And you know what's one of the most impactful buff for that model next edition is Talons of the Emperor. Talons of the Emperor has 1 CP +1 AP and strength in the shooting phase. So her gun, you know, a 602 gun is a very big casino cannon, but she usually gets like 9 hits with it. But when it's AP1 and your opponent is just taking 3-ups at best, but usually 4s and 5s, it's gonna wreck people. And that's the gun that you don't really care about, but that's probably gonna be her best gun next edition. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Also, just another thing real quick. She doesn't need the Lions buff to hit on 2s because she has her own datasheet roll.
She does.
Yes.
You get +1 to hit against non-chaos and Xenos, but against non-Imperial Chaos models, so Oryx, Eldar, etc. So obviously doesn't impact the Custodians as much. It will actually come out next edition, like we said, because of cover changes. So giving her +1 to hit in the shooting phase actually will matter for her friends, which is like a nice thing, because we were taking this model literally for gun. Her datasheet abilities were nice, but completely useless. Because currently, right at the moment, if you play the current meta build, you shove her in a land raider anyway. She never gets to roll her lone up. But these are things that will be more impactful next edition, which is cool.
Yeah. And like also, so that +1 AP and Talons is going to be huge. Because I mean, as it stands right now, right? Like the way that I math it out is if you are +1 to hit, +1 to wound for Lions buff, right? And you have an objective for full rerolls, right? Her Custodian Guard squad kills any 14 wound model that has a 3-up save.
Yeah, very easily. And there's also cool interactions. Like I'm thinking of the Sister of Silence detachment, because I don't even think like a 10-man Witch Seeker will be bad next edition, because they have some interesting buffs. One, because like every Talons of the Emperor strat, if you guys don't know, lets you pick 2 units in your army as long as one's a sister. Witch Seekers have just normal flamers. But like I said, if you give them that strat, it becomes a pure heavy flamer, D6 shots at 511. They bow shock you when they shoot you, so that is slightly better in 11th edition. You might be continuing to bow shocked on your own turn, which is kind of cool. But that attachment also has a really cool strat where you can give blast to a Witch Seeker squad. Obviously, you can't use the strats at the same time. Like say if you're menaced by a bunch of Termagants, or like Recon Guard is still meta, and Recon Guard will have less saves because they won't have +1 armor save anymore. A 10-man Witch Seeker squad versus a 20-man is 10d6 plus 40 hits, ignoring cover, which doesn't do anything, but that's really good against 5-up save dudes. For 100 points, that's pretty cool. And then they can react to moves like Talons. You get 2 reactive moves. Like, there's a lot of interesting stuff in 11th edition. Like I think the attachments shown are pretty bad, but I'm sadly most excited for the Sisters one. I think it's going to give some interesting, fun things added to us. If, like I said, what I think, I'll give some little hypotheticals. I think Shield Host and Lions will be 3DP. Actually, no, Lions probably won't, because they specifically called out Lions in one of the attachments. I don't know. I would assume Shield Host is 3DP, but things like Talons and like Sisters of Silence will probably be 2DP, so you can combine that. It's also weirdly the only detachment that has like a duplicate that you could combine. You can take both Sisters of Silence detachments. They don't have like a tag. So if you're a Sisters of Silence player, you can do that if you want, which is kind of fun. Vigilaire's is pretty good.
GW doesn't respect the left Talon of the Emperor.
One of the secret best characters in the game is the Knight Centura. She is probably the best leader ability in 40k. It's +2 move, advance, and charge. So you get +6 movement. So that's a really fun unit if you take Vigilators.
And for that sword ladies attachment, you can also advance and do actions as well.
Yeah, if you want to. That's +4 movement, and that's if you leader some Witch Seekers, that's Witch Seekers that go 10 plus D6 inches.
That, and like you were saying with Witch Seekers, even not using them offensively, we saw the a preview for Scout on the Votan article where instead of moving with your Scout, you can just put them up in reserves.
Yeah, that's quite helpful if anything with Scout, because a lot of times, these boards are a little better, but a lot of times Scout is kind of frivolous. If you go second, you don't really do anything with it, so an option will be very nice. and it should work in the transfer. One unit I love in Custodes is the Sisters Rhino. This is just like technically the best Rhino in 40k. It's just a 75-point Rhino that has a 3 of Feel No Pain against Psychic Immortals. Just randomly has a second ability for free when most Rhinos have 1. It's really cool. So if you can do that with a Rhino, that's quite impactful. It's really cool.
It does work with transports because the example given is the Sagittar. Yeah, the Sagittar going into reserves itself rather than scouting on the battlefield. So if you have a eligible dedicated transport that is going to make a scout move, it can do the move or they'll put in reserves.
It's very cool.
So, yep. And again, as far as I know, that Rhino also lets you shoot your flamers out of it. So
only 2 of them, but
yeah,
it lets you shoot something else.
But with that wonderful introduction and hype for both the experience and looking forward, we will take a minute here to hear a word from our sponsors, pay some bills, and when we come back, we have more Custodes talk with you, specifically about play style and maybe some what kind of mission style to look for to play with this army. So stay tuned with us, and then we will be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
Now with a word from our sponsor, Baron of Dice. Baron of Dice is your one-stop shop for premium wargaming dice. Our dice are made with premium resin materials and colored dyes. Each die is hand-mixed to the desired result and then carefully swirled with 2, 3, or 4 colors in a silicone mold before being laser engraved with a wicked symbol and finished in a matte or gloss polish. There are no imperfections in our dice, no balancing issues, no micro bubbles or mold lines. This is the difference between. You can, quite literally, feel and hear a difference with our dice. Whatever game you play, whatever style your team or faction rocks, we're sure to have something to elevate your game. With over 500 styles and over 4,000 customer reviews, welcome to the best dice on the planet. Now back to our show.
All right, everyone, welcome back, and thank you for bearing with us. As promised, we are continuing the Golden Boy talk. And with a new edition coming up, this is going to be a bit more fluid than it has been in past faction focuses, but stick with us. We're all learning together here. Again, we'll start with Steve. We've been doing that. Seems like it's been working. Mm-hmm. What do you kind of look at? Like if you're looking at, you mentioned you're taking them to various team events. You won, the GW Open. Mm-hmm. What, when you're considering whether or not to take Custodes, what do you look at as far as like layout goes? And not that we have any solid idea, but like going forward into asymmetric primary and 11th, what type of missions do you foresee, them being good at?
Yeah, so right now we're going to just talk about the only current competitive Custodian, but there's one. It's just triple Land Raider with 6 squads of Custodian Guard. It's really the only way to play Custodians right now. A little sad if you don't like it, but that's just we're going to use that perspective. So that army is luckily very table agnostic. It pretty much plays on any board relatively easily because there's a lot of issues as Land Raiders. We're in a very high damage meta, Defilers mostly, but in general, Land Raiders are hard to kill for every army in the game. It takes some amount of effort. And biggest issue is when you have 3 Land Raiders pointing at you. If you poke out to try and kill one, say with a Repulsor or Repulsor Executioner specifically, even with Oath, doesn't usually one-shot a Land Raider. It's got to get both its last cannons through, and it's got to make sure the Custodian players fail to do 5-ups. It's very uncommon. And then at Custodians, the Land Raiders, since they have 100 killers, essentially points 15 last cannons at the opponent hitting on 2s, and it kills it. So Custodians usually win like the tank shootout because it's a very because it also comes with that your Land Raiders don't actually matter to the grand scheme of your plan. The point of the plan is moving the models at your opponent. So your opponent has to expose a shit ton of resources and models to try and maybe kill your Land Raiders, and then they get tabled by the guard because they get overwhelmed. So that is the point of why you're mostly table agnostic. So obviously some tables are better. Things like GW 8 and 7, you're playing a melee army, those are better. And then things like GW 4 and 6 to an extent, depending if it's like maybe Crucible or Search and Destroy, are obviously lesser, not as good. But I would say in general, you're good everywhere, which is really good and it benefits some armies. Like I'll say, for instance, my Defilers, they don't like playing a GW1. They like every other board, but we don't like GW1 very much. But as a Custodian player, you don't care. Missions and primary, otherwise though, is you are in general, besides for specifically like Hearn's Marauders as a detachment for CSM, like the best primary denial or bully army in the game. Every Custodian Guard is 15 or 17 OC if you have a character, and you just slam it on a point and you steal their points. There's nothing your opponent can do. Like I played a game versus Crusher Stampede, and you put 2 Norns in the middle field, and in Crusher Stampede you get like +2 OC. So you put 34 OC in the middle, and I shoved 2.5 squads of Custodian Guard in the middle turn 1 and stole that objective. And then I killed him because I had 4 rerolls to wound. Like he had 34 OC in the middle turn 1, and I put 36 in the middle on turn 1, and I still took it. That's what you gotta do in Custodians, and it helps a lot because you have Land Raiders, so you move 10, disembark 3, and then maybe charge people. So a lot of threat range of stealing primary. And then so you're very good at like primary missions. Like your best missions are things like hidden supplies, and purge the foe for obvious. So what you want is like missions that rely on objectives. So you're an objective-based army. You get all your rules or you stand on objectives. That's a Custodian Guard work, and it's your best stage sheet. And like killing, so like purge, hidden supplies, things like that. Or even the lesser ones like Scorched Earth, where you only have to worry about 2 objectives. It helps a lot. So those are what you like. You obviously don't like doing actions. You're an army of 1 million Terminators. You don't have too much units, and if you are taking some sisters, the sisters are so imperative of your game plan of just being alive. You don't like sacrificing them to do secondaries and primary too much because you need them to stay alive. The sisters give Custodians feel no pains against mortals and psych attacks, which is a big gameplay of why this army can survive. If you play against like a lot of Tyranids and Grey Knights and stuff, they see you have a 4 Feel No Pain Land Raider versus most of their damage, a lot of Tyranid damage like Zoanthropes and Malceptors are psychic, and 99% of Grey Knight damage is psychic, and they just shit their pants because how are you going to kill a 4 Feel No Pain Land Raider? That's minus 1 to hit because of smoke. You're not. So they're very important paired to your gameplay. You don't like suiciding them out. So in 10th edition or 11th edition, one big benefit for Custodian Guard is now objectives of terrain. So you have this big like 12 by 10 inch rock in the middle of the board that gives you 4 rerolls to wound. It's now your objective for Custodian Guard. That's a huge boon. It also means it's really easy to tow on. So one thing I will say that looks good for 11th edition is like high OC rapid ingress threats, because now you deep strike 8 inches away. It's really hard to screen that out innately because you have 1 more inch to screen out, and objectives are much bigger. Right now, an objective is a 3-inch aura, so it's like 7.5 inches wide, while a big rock in the middle of the board, as you've seen some of the templates, is like, I don't know, I think they're like 10 by 6 or something, or 10 by 8. It's a lot more space that you have to fully screen out. So you can easily potentially rapid ingress and just like steal an objective because at 2 Custodian Guards is 6 OC. That OC is most things in the game baseline. So that'll be a big thing you got to think about when playing Custodians next edition. That's the thing I'll think about in any army in general, is if you have like a deep strike high OC unit, you're probably good. You're probably very helpful.
On that point, while you're talking about the deep strike, something else that I've been very aware of as mainly a melee Tyranid player is the changes to heroic intervention. That now getting move blocked because you're not a heavily fly army. For 2 CP, that move block just disappears in your opponent's turn. For those of you who don't know, heroic intervention is a modal strat now. It has 2 modes. It has the 1 CP. You can declare a charge on anything that made a charge move within 12 inches of the unit you designate.
Double the range of the current one.
It has to be your unit has to be unengaged. The only limiting factor. Well, the 12-inch range, they make a charge, and you can't be engaged. The unit you use it on. The second mode, which is a lot more spicy for foot melee armies, Death Guard, Custodes, stuff like that.
All true.
Even Blades of Ultramar with the Vintrix, is for 2 CP. Any enemy unit within 6 inches of your unit, you can just go on. So, the Drukhari almost could put 5 witches on your objective and steal it. Maybe not if you're in the center of that objective. There's no 6 inches that's safe that they can do that. So, just to tack on to that rapid ingress threat, you could also, like Jake was saying with Terminators, rapid ingress, then heroic, and even flip a primary potentially.
It's a couple things to point out with that is, so one, just a keynote, the heroic does happen at the end of the phase now.
Yeah, the end of the charge phase. You gotta see full information.
Yeah. So definitely really cool, but also with those Terminators, right? The 1 DP detachment that they just released over on the Warcom, right? Specifically states that gives those Terminators the ability to re-roll those charges as well, which means
Which
that
is
you can re-roll
slightly
your
impactful because you cannot reroll charges if you use strats like heroic now, because you can't use two strats in the same phase. You can't. That's actually a big thing. People, it's gonna mess up people. Is like they're like, I'll go for a raw dog 7 heroic and it's 7 rerollable, so it'll be fine. Unless you have, this will actually make up rules that give you reroll charges baseline. Like champion. Much more impact. Or if you have enhancement gives you reroll charges baseline, much more impact. So think about those when looking at your codex. Pretty cool. And another thing about the heroic is now it's physically impossible to stay outside of a rapid heroic because you rapid 8 inches away, and now your range is 12 inches away. So unless they charge like diagonally somewhere else, you can fully protect the unit with a rapid ingress, which is very impactful for custodians, because one of custodians' randomly weakest things since the index has been melee. They almost have no anti-melee interaction. They just accept. They're like, I'm T6 with 4 bin will save. Hope that survives me. They don't get things like -1 damage, -1 to hit. They get the worst fire death in the game, which is on a 4. It's like 1 detachment.
Hey, we get a -1 to hit in melee if we control the objective.
Yes, in fucking Spirit
For a
Soul, or
CP.
whatever the hell that detachement's called.
We also have a
sure.
4-up fight on death with no way to make it better. So we're right here with you. One
Yeah, so like it's
Two up on the
weird.
character now.
We used to have all the combat interaction, and every other edition we have almost none. We just like accept, like you're gonna hit me. Like that's why we play Talons. That's our combat interaction, is running back at our Land Raider. 5 people.
Playing
So that'd be very
Custodes
good.
strats, a second your turn is over with Custodes, your strats are, hey, I might have a D6 reactive move when you shoot at me.
Yeah,
Or,
that's a funny
hey,
line strat.
If you're running the only competitively viable one, which is the triple Land Raiders, you'd be like, oh, well, I got a reactive move. I got that one.
One thing I will say about that lion strat, which is hilariously bad, but now we have tow on terrain. Like if you ever played any edition that isn't 10th edition, the LOS is the same. If you're just touching terrain, you have LOS. So you can just touch your Alaris to like an objective and see through it. And now with your 1-inch reactive move from the shoot strat, you can get off the objective and not be seen. And with our AP and our damage being innately better with the change of cover, that's actually a kind of interesting thing you could do with Alaris. So you can deep strike, you're just barely touching a point, shoot through it, and if your opponent shoots you, you're just gonna scoop 1 inch backward or more. It's, like I said, it's just with a 1. That's all you need, which is cool. Can't do that now. It's fucking, you need like a 3 to do anything because you're planning on running by the wall. But next edition.
Jake, same question to you. I'll ask it again. Looking forward, and not knowing how the codex is going to look or any of the points updates or anything, the core rules, just kind of, from what we've seen, what are kind of you looking for? Like if you were to, get a list of your, whatever they're called, the force dispositions, and the kind of what each, because the cool thing is about the asymmetric, you pick yours, but depending on which one your opponent has, either a mirror match or the 4 other options, you get a myriad of missions that kind of interact with your primary stays, from what we've seen, about 80% the same, which is like maybe an additional add-on or another restriction depending on your opponent. So with, again, what we know, how are you kind of looking forward and hoping to run the Emperor's Finest?
So I haven't seen any of the dispositions or how those are judged. Are those out right now?
No,
we just know what they're called.
games.
But they haven't, and like you've seen them on the streams from this week, but they haven't revealed them at all, sadly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All we know for sure is that pick one, and then you have the 5 you could play into at an event.
Yeah.
So as far as all like current talk goes, I don't think that there's anyone more qualified to talk about it than Steve, who already has said everything absolutely perfectly. Like truthfully, I think that he didn't miss a beat there. Said everything that needed to be said. Did an excellent job as always. Because I mean, he is. What's your current rank in the world right now?
Oh, I don't know. It changes. That's an Elo thing.
Great.
Usually, I don't want to say that.
You got fourth in worlds last year.
Yeah.
Right? You're gonna make him blush.
Sorry.
Go to guy. Right. Anyways, so and then you got me, Land Raider, with 2 fucking tanks. Anyways. Yeah. Yeah, so since he's talked about now, right, I'll give a little bit of my little predictions and hopes, dreams, and cope for next edition, right?
That's why we're here.
With the dispositions, whatever the assigned missions. I think it's going to be pretty cool because I'd hope that fundamentally GW would know how our army's going to play, right? Like right now we're very much objective based primary army, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's going to change the way that our secondaries look, right? And the way that our overall approach at the board goes. Like it's going to feel a lot more natural and flow into Custodes style a little bit more. I feel like it's going to hopefully not have as much of those like, oh, I just drew 2 action secondaries and I'm an army incapable of doing action secondaries efficiently.
Well, luckily you get to keep your cards forever, so you can do those actions later after you table your opponent.
Yeah. I actually didn't know that. So that's what you're gonna
Yeah, it's just you can keep your cards forever and you draw 2 every turn. You still have CP discard if you want. Like, if you like, I can't do cleanse turn 1, I can do turn 3, you can just chill.
Cool. Okay, neat.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that you can go and like say like you like had like a cleanse, sabotage, and then like some other objective?
Some of the
right?
actions I was reading, I think plunder or something, I don't know if they showed the other day, let you discard automatically if you already have an action one. I think they're less forcing you to
reshuffle.
Yeah. So I think they're less forcing you to draw 2. What do you mean?
Like,
But,
you
You
able
can
to
do
do more
if
than
you have like
3
5 secondaries, you can do all 5 of them in one turn. I think they
The
said there's a
only-
cap on how many points you can get, but I don't know what that is.
15. You can only score 15 from secondaries on any given turn. So you could score every card, but as soon as you hit 15 points, the points stop mattering. But
Very nice.
that does mean if you had 18, 19 points, you could save a card like a sabotage. Like, you know what? I'm going to get my 15. I'll hold on to sabotage or discard it for a CP. Get my 15, and then it's
like that nice behind enemy lines at turn 2 you're not going to get, but you'll definitely get on turn 3 or 4.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
quite nice. On depositions, I'll talk about, like, I don't remember what they're called. I think there's one that's like recon, purge. What it sounds like to me is we have purge, like 2 objective based ones and 2 action based ones. I think this is what they sounded like.
Yep.
So,
So
but I don't know
reconnaissance,
exactly.
Priority assets, purge. I think like take and hold or something like right similar to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do forget the 5th one. I don't remember.
Yeah,
what
but
that
like I
one
said,
was.
it definitely sounded like 2 actions, 2 like primary stand places, and 1 kill one. So we definitely, this will come at a point about the 1 DPs we have. So each detachment has 1 specific disposition. They've said that. So, and if you combine 2 detachments, you have 2 options, and you have to put in your list, but it'll be very impactful. So, like hypothetically, I would imagine Custodes want to play Purge or the take and hold style one. That would just make sense to me. So, hypothetically, say like Sisters of Silence has one of those depositions. It probably not, because it's an action-based detachment. It's probably one of the action ones. But hypothetically, say it is Purge, and then our best detachment we actually have, like say Lion is our best detachment next edition, but Lion is stuck with a stupid action one for some reason. That means we can take the Sisters detachment, even though maybe we don't like it too much, and then gain Purge if Purge is really good for Custodes, and then boom, now we actually have our good primary at will. And that would be a huge thing for us specifically, especially since we're kind of like I said, a very stagnant army. We don't have a lot of options. We're kind of just different variations of Terminators. Just like here's a different version of a Terminator with a different stat line. We don't like, we're very binary. So if we can get the correct depositions by taking a 1 DP, that'd be very good. I'm like hope all the good attachments aren't 3 DP. Like if they make like Talons and Lions of the Emperor 3 DP, that would probably be pretty sad, but we can hope.
Real quick, I know we've kind of touched on it, so we don't going to go too far in depth with this, but just to give the people idea of kind of where you guys are speaking from your various experiences and just preferences, because like Jake said, you could take the 3 Land Raider 26 guys, Calidus and Draxus, but maybe that's not what you want to do. Maybe you want to play Shield Host with 15 Wardens, Blade Champs, whatever, Cladius, Land Raider, Lions, whatever. So kind of where you guys are speaking from, your preferred play styles. Jake, we'll start with you. How you prefer, like how you your ideal, Custodes force on the board, like how you want to run them. Rules be damned.
Rules be damned. I
Still
like
around 2,000 points. Don't put like 8,000 models on the table here.
Well, duh. Okay. All right. Hear me out. How cool would it be, right, to just like have mini knights, but they're like 2-mans, two dudes, one dude, right? Like I feel like one guy.
We're
is a
talking about
little
reworking
hard
the
to,
army.
yeah, a little bit.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. How cool! Like I just like I want Custodes to play and feel like Custodes, right? I want them to like I feel like a Custodes army should be no more than 10 to 15 Custodes bodies, period, right? I think that any more than that is kind of absurd. Honestly, I think it should be more like 10 Custode bodies and then maybe 1 to 2 characters, right? But I feel like the grav tanks still stay in the picture. I feel like those are very iconic, right? But like I love just a few lower model count. Like
Oh, you took your answer in a direction I didn't see, but I'm not mad about it. Look, they say that like one custodian's worth 100 Marines. So you have your Black Tide over in Black Templars, where there's like 105 Space Marine bodies, and you just have your one custodian guard at 2,000 points, the Orion Custodian. But but there is something, on a more serious note, the feel of the army. You're right. There is a feeling of like it should be, 3, maybe 4 units of custodians with a character or 2 max. And then
that's way more. It should be 2, maybe 3 units.
Yeah, 3 3-mans or 4 2-mans. Yeah, well, plus 2 characters is 10. That's what you said. But that number of units plus
Gold Tide. I'm like, this is an interesting hyper elite army we got here.
A unit of sisters or 2. But I personally think Custodes love having sisters, not as a what's the word I'm looking for here? Like just because I have the points free, put them in. But like Steve said, a like core part of your game plan. Because even if you're not playing Talons, they still do a fantastic job. Your custodian models don't want to do, like, holding your home, screening your backfield, making sure people aren't coming behind you while you're sending your land raiders forward. That's a job you kind of want someone to do, and you don't want to spend, 135 points of custodians just doing nothing all game. I mean, if your opponent's dead, I guess you can afford it, but that's a risky if going into an event. Going over to Steve, what's your preferred Custodes play style?
Tacoma. Mass hordes of beefy men. I like big squads of dudes. Like I'm playing Hearn's Marauders right now on CSM, which is fundamentally 2 squads of max possessed and 3 squads of max chosen. I think MSU is for freaking cowards. It's for losers. We're here for big beefy squads and we're here to kill people. That's why I like playing 40K. So I like all custodians except Wardens. Wardens is probably one of my least favorite day sheet in 10th edition. They were cool in 9th edition because they were better guard. Because they don't do any damage. I hate Wardens. But I love everything. I love bikes, even though they've been unplayable. I love Alaris, even though, man, that day she's gone down 30 points in 2 years. I think they were like 70 points when the Codex came out, and they're 55 now. Jesus Christ. And I love Guard for obvious reasons. I love the characters. I love the characters. I have some fun converted up Blade Champions when they came out like 4 Decembers ago, because it was fun. So like I said, I was in the little story. We were using the 8th edition Custodian Codex for like 60% of 9th edition. And then the Blade Champion came out in December and the Codex was coming out in January. So the Blade Champion was the first like updated data sheet for Custodians in 9th edition. So it had like the modern philosophy of like rules versus like 8th edition. A Custodian had 3 attacks in 8th edition, Jake. You were 3d3 attacks, by the way. Yeah, you didn't do anything. The Blade Champion was super cool. He had a lot of rules. So I converted up a bunch of guys out of Venatari. Honestly,
quick shout out to the Venatari. That's my favorite custodian model and unit. I personally think if Lions has a good fortress position, you're going to see 1, probably 2 units of them in 11th, because holy crap, them having lands, strength 7 lands, and another +1 to wound on top of that. Even things that are -1 to be wounded are still going to be wounded on 2s.
Yeah, actually, the Venatari, the Forge World Venatari is probably my favorite model in 40K. Not a fan of the plastic one. They got big, stupid rain boots on, but it is what it is. I'm hoping they have good rules, because right now they have weird rules. They're the slowest jump pack in the game. They move 10. I don't know why. Why do they move 10? And they're kind of, they don't really fit anything because they don't do anything in Lions because they get Lance. Ooh. So I'm hoping they're really good. I love Venatari. Like the best unit in 9th edition, besides for Talon, was 6-man gun Venatari. It was really good. You had sustained hits when sustained hits didn't exist. You double shot, and the guns were 622. When 622 was a premium profile. In 9th edition, T8 was highest toughness, by the way, Jake. There was no T13. Technically, T9 was.
It's still an incredible profile even now.
Yeah, it would still be quite good. But now they're or 1-2. They're a bolter. They might be 1 damage. I don't remember. They're terrible. Yeah, I'm hoping they're really good. Like I said, I love every custodian. Like Atari, Bikes, Laris, Wardens, technically, but not currently. And characters. All right, it's rant time. We're gonna talk about why the Custodian Shield Captain is the worst character in 40K.
Wait. 1 second, because I gotta give an actual answer because I got confused whenever Regal said "rules be damned." I was like, wait, okay, hold on. My dream arm, how I would like Custodians rules out the window. I'm like, okay, but actual like in the moment Custodians. I like my Land Raider in 2 grabs. I feel like it's a very nice core. I enjoy the fact that the Land Raider kind of gives a reason of being like, hey, yeah, so you have to deal with this, and if you don't deal with this, it's a problem. And then I have 2 grav tanks that then get to follow up, which, I mean, I have no reason to expose my grav tanks to expose your stuff, right? But you now have a reason to expose your stuff because I have a Land Raider out in the field. So, big spooky, puts the match on the clock, right? The opponent gets a little scared. It's a little bit of an intimidation factor, which is fun. And then me and my 9 units, 1 sisters to sit on home, 1 sisters to go to my close one, my expansion. And then I enjoy, like I said, my Loris captain with the big stick for the free rapid, and then whatever he wants to do, and then up, down.
You want to be playing Litters? Is you want to be playing Alliance? Is that what you're saying? That's your dream?
Oh, I do. I love it. Like right now, this is my Custodians, how I enjoy it. Because I haven't known anything else.
What's the best model in Lions, Jake?
The best model in Lions?
The best single model in Lions.
I still gotta give it to the Loris captain. But
Wrong,
I mean,
it's the Inquisitor. Baseline
the
Inquisitor.
Inquisitor?
The best
Yeah.
model in Lions.
Yeah,
That guy sucks. All right, you want to know what this guy does? I personally run 2 Inquisitors over Draxus and Lions. So this guy, he's like 55 points. He gives you a 3-up CP refund. An army doesn't have CP refund. You never roll a 3, but you can pretend it exists. So he has a Super Flamer. It is 18-inch wound, dev wound, psychic flamer. The psychic is technically buffed in next edition in a way it doesn't matter. His sword is psychic though, which is better next edition. Nor hit mods.
Psychic save.
It is a strength 3 -1 1 damage flamer at 2d6 shots. So you add Alliance, you get +1 to wound. You add shield guards, so you get reroll wounds. You add shield guards, you get +1, you get double shot. So you shoot 46 shots at +1 to wound, 4 rerolls to wound, dev wounds, and you just go whoosh. I had that guy kill 3 eradicators like a couple weeks ago when my friend was testing spear point assault against me, and he's rolled freaking 3. He rolled 9 6s. It was awesome. I got a little lucky to say the least, but it was hilarious. That guy is the best model Alliance. He's also really good in Talons. You can make him AP2 at strength 4. Also very impactful. We love the little Inquisitor. That guy's 55 points. That guy is literally half than Draxus, and he costs the same price as 1 of layers for a character. We love that guy.
Yeah.
There you go. There's my little Inquisitor rant.
Yeah, but I like my little 9 units, my little Blade Champ Warden's brick. I know you don't like Wardens, but for the purpose that they serve in my list, they're just kind of there to get stuck up and then give a little bit more stuff to chew through. It's kind of just a whole workaround. I enjoy. Look, I like Trajan with Wardens, because Trajan typically doesn't need guard to be extra, killy, and then I like taking them in the Land Raider, and then I dump out the Wardens. I charge. I kill something that I charged, right? Then now my opponent not only has another brick of Wardens that are on the board, right, and 2 grav tanks, and the Land Raider that's probably dead by now, right? But now he has to threaten my Wardens with enough shooting to make me want to pop Feel No Pain, while also allocating a unit that's going to be able to charge them into melee, because to kill Wardens effectively, you have to be able to line up enough shooting to kill them in the shooting, and enough melee to kill them in melee, because you have to make them choose, right? So you're effectively doubling up on how much it takes for, a resource allocation. In a way, that can be a little overwhelming in a source. And when you have 9 units,
Wardens or 12 Reaver jet bikes.
Oh no. So we have another squad. We love it. But anyways, but yeah, then Trajan pops his 12 attacks in the first swing, right? He reloads it because Lions, then you pop fill up pain and shooting because if they put enough shooting into there, then you get charged. Then all your guys die, but you pop 12 attacks again, and you do the fight on
Can't do
death.
that.
And now you do 12 attacks fighting on death on a 2-up.
Pretty snazzy. You know what traders' old abilities were in the index, Jake?
The fact that he gave fights first.
Fight
for one of
first
his-
and ignore all mods.
all mods. Yeah, I know. I never got that.
No, you did not.
Never got it. No.
No, sir.
All right. The rant.
Yep.
All right. Shield
Characters.
Captain is the worst character in 40K. So think about characters in 40K. This is I'm not even like memeing here, by the way. So characters. When you take a character in 40K, you get many things. You get special weapons. You get hit rates. You get invul saves. Sometimes you get armor saves. You get wounds. So we're gonna talk about Shield Captain. Does he get a special weapon? No, he gets the same weapon. Does he hit better? No, he hits the same. Does he get a better armor save? No. Does he get an invul save? No, he has the same invul save as a custodian guard. And even equivalently, he gets less wounds. A Space Marine captain has 5 wounds. A Space Marine has 2. It's 150% increased wounds. A custodian has 3 wounds, and a shield guard has 6. So he only gets 100% more wounds. So equivalently, he gets less wounds. So he gets literally nothing for being a character. And his price, not cheap. You would think, okay, this guy who is a custodian with 2 more attacks would probably be the price of 2 custodians at most, because he also doesn't have a leader ability. No, this motherfucker costs the price of almost 4 versus a captain in Space Marines who's also about the price of 4 or even less because he's like 75 points. So this guy gives you nothing. You know what his leader ability is? Do you know what this motherfucker does? He gives you once per game lethal hits.
Basically.
That is what he does. He gives you the free shot, but whatever. He's
Once per
captain.
game.
I'll do that. Once per game lethal hits. This is the worst character in 40K. Does nothing.
Going back to the captain has finest hour, which is not lethal
Yes.
hits. I'll tell you that.
That guy actually has rules. I'm saying he gets, in addition to having rules, he gets better weapons, he gets invul saves, he gets more wounds, he gets better hit rate. The custodian one gets nothing. They said at least the blade champion gets a better sword. He has something special. That's the biggest issue with custodian characters in general. Like, they were good in the index because they had good rules. They were always 2 katas. They had OP duplicate ability. And then Trajan had a lot of special things. So they were playable. And then the Blade Champion also was better. They nerfed him for some reason. He was reroll advances and charges and once per game advance charge. The shield guy has nothing. He is so bad. He makes me sad. Like, to be actually playable. Oh, it's also that awful model. Go get your girl model from the new box. That guy's way better. I guess she's a girl.
I have that one.
Yeah. I haven't got I got the box because I got like second place at GT. I haven't built it yet because I'm waiting for the new rules. But I'm excited. But yeah, so that guy would equivalently probably have to be 70 points to be actually playable. The bike character is even worse. He's a bike.
He's got a melt-a-spear.
Yeah, he doesn't. That's a day should exist, by the way. You can take Spear Custodians. Not a special weapon. Also, the gun sucks. It doesn't have assault, Jake. The gun's useless.
Wait, is he the only Custodes model that does? Because aren't all your guns assault?
Yes.
On the infantry?
Not Alaris grenade launchers, but his dumb melted spear, if you give him that weapon, doesn't have assault, and it's literally a melted gun. It's not like a multi-melted. It's just a melted gun. It's so bad.
One shot.
Yeah, 1 shot, straight 9, d6 damage at 12 inch range. But yeah, so this guy would have to be like 70 points to be playable, and the motherfucker's like 110. Like, you can take 3 or 4 custodians, or you can take this guy. It's like, what do you do it? Like, I can take 3 intercessors, or I can take a CP. That's all he does. Or I can take like 3 intercessors, or I can take a captain. Like, the captain's actually better. So this guy, like, this isn't me just fanboy. This guy's probably the worst character in 40K. Like, shitty other characters, they're at least like fucking 40 points, and they can stand at a point. Like the Blade Guard veteran character who does nothing in Space Marines, he's the cheapest model in the army. He's 45 points. Sometimes he goes to my list when I'm playing like a skew Space Marine list, and he stands on my home field because he is literally the cheapest model you can buy in the army. Cheapest unit, not even just model. I hate the ship captain. He's so bad. He was so good in the index too. That's why it's double worse. He sucks stinky poo poo. Also, make banners characters again. Banners were characters in 9th edition, Jake. They all had a special banner. You had an aura of +1 attack, an aura of an invul save for Imperium, which was cute, or an aura of -1 shooting. So they would like stand around. They were your Vexillas, which is why, you know, needing to have like 8 Vexillas in the modern time is very annoying because people built like 2 of them and then threw the rest of their Vexillas away.
what they did to just banner units across the game is a travesty from 9th to 10th.
Very sad.
But fingers crossed with the new banner boy, it looks like they might be coming back for 11. So hopefully that's good news on the horizon.
Yes.
But Jake, do you have any well, Steve, thank you as always, master of transition. We kind of backdoored our way into it, but it's fine. We'll get there. We'll give you some time to ruminate and let off some of the dark side of the force over there. Jake, do you have any kind of pet models or favorite models yourself, whether just from the aesthetic to bring,
I love my Valdor model. He's the actual Forge World model, and he's got a cool little 60mm display base that he pops off, and then he's got a little 40mm that he stands on, and he's my Aloris Terminator captain with Admon Mortis. So he's my favorite character in 40K. He's my coolest looking model that I paid to have him commissioned by a friend who does a really good job. And so he's all super beefed up and cool looking, and then also he's like an unkillable model. So he lives the longest out of all my models and does the most work. And then even when he does go out, that 2-up fight on death with 6 attacks, strength 12,
Talking about this guy.
yeah.
This is Valdor.
Yep. And so when he does go out, he goes out like a hero. And he does a whole bunch of fun work and stuff, and he's my favorite model. So that's obviously always going to be my pet model. I love him.
I was you there too. I got Valdor myself for my Trajan because Trajan's model was atrocious. Man, T-poses. He just does this. It's all so dumb.
Nuts. But Steve, what about you? Going from your most hated model, what is your most, like love model, model or unit or whatever?
The fucking Talon Heavy Dreadnought, baby. All right, another story time. 9th edition, the Talon Heavy Dreadnought was the most durable unit in 40K period. This guy,
Yep.
So we had a lot of rules. This was before the Codex came out. Yes, that's a weird printed one. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Go get my real one.
Yeah, go get your real one.
I've never seen that gun before, but it does look sick though. It almost looks like a Saturn 9
This
one.
guy, he's fucking sprinting at you. And my little, there you go. That's a Talon. His hands are off, but whatever. They're magnetized. But this guy he was T8 when T8 was the highest toughness in the game. This is the toughness of a knight.
Yep.
Like last games were strength 8, for instance. He was half damage. He had a 6 of feeling pain. You had a strat for no rerolls to hit and wound. And then
I forgot about that.
You had a strat for transhuman, and you had a strat for transhuman, which is you can only move it on 4. And that's the Achilles. That guy's sweet as fuck too. And you had a strat for transhuman. So you had this guy that was T8, could only be wounded on 4s. You couldn't reroll against, was half damage, and had 6 of feeling pain. And it was also very good at shooting and melee people. So that's the only way to play custodians until the Codex came out was 3 of those motherfuckers. And you would run at the opponent, and they couldn't kill him because he was literally invincible. And it was fun. I love that guy. Like I said, I have 3 of these. This was how I won many GTs. If you ever played in the TMW, you probably got scourged by the Talmons like 3 or 4 years ago. It was a lot of fun. I love this guy. I'm happy. So they've outright confirmed, not fully confirmed, but confirmed as much as they said that anything they're making plastic is like staying. I don't know if that means they're in the Codex, so they're doing online rules only. Either way, they also directly call out the Talon and one of the strats, something they've never done before. They've never called out a Forge World model.
On that real quick, they did come out and someone asked on a comment on their Q&A video if anything's going to Legends, and they did confirm going into 11th, any model that exists now with the data sheet will have a data sheet at the beginning of 11th.
Yeah. So I think that's what they mean is I think in the Codex, the models that don't have plastic are going to go away, which is fine. Probably things like Sagittarium, which are gone in Horus Heresy now. 07, the best model in 40K. They have the best helmets in 40K, by the way, Sagittarium. And then like the planes. But most of the other stuff will probably still exist, like all the Dreadnoughts, the dumb Chronos. And I guess the Melta Spear guys will be gone too, but whatever. In the Venatari,
the
Quillons
the
are probably
guard
gone
alternative.
too. Yeah. So that's really good. So like there's 2 interest schools of thought. If they're in the Codex, the models will actually be playable and good. But if they keep them as online only rules that they don't legend, they'll probably just ignore them like they did 10th edition. Because technically, like these models have existed all edition, they just ignore them. Like the Aquilon Terminators have rules right now. You would think not if you ever pay attention to 40K. Like that's like the issue. If you have online only rules, like you might like technically exist, but GW will just ignore you. Like, so I'm hoping during the codex, you know, at least the plastic ones, that would be super cool. Like I said, the presence of the strat they just released, even though, you know, online rules aren't codex rules, of directly calling out a Telemon. Like I said, they've never called out a Forge World model before in 40K. Like specifically, like when they wrote a Solar Spearhead like 2 years ago, they literally said this detachment is for Contemptor Dreadnoughts only, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and just pretended to ignore all the Forge World Dreadnoughts. It was really funny. Yeah. So hopefully that's happening because I love this motherfucker. He's cool. He's like a Redemptor. If a Redemptor was not lame. Also, he was a travesty in 10th edition because guy used to be the most durable unit in 40K, and now he's T10. Why are you T10?
Actually, so funny little note that I was thinking about, right? With like current data sheets. Yes. So with current data sheets, right? And the Telemon, right? So, all right, Steve, do you know the profile for the little auto turret for the grav tanks?
Yeah, it's like 4 shots twin linked at like 913 or something.
Yeah, with rapid fire for 48 inches, right? So 8 shots, right? Strength 10, AP 1, damage 3, twin linked, and then lethal hits against everything not a monster vehicle. So that compared to Telemon with double of the accelerator culverins, right? And then that strat, and then that strat that they just gave, right? With the Telemon only being 10 points more than a grav tank, but being a much more durable data sheet, right?
Mostly, it's not T11. That matters a little bit, but yeah, it is mostly more durable.
Yeah, and then I mean -1 damage for a pinvolum versus 5
yes.
pinvolum.
That's what I said. It's mostly. It's not
mostly.
Completely.
So yeah, and then so it's Telemon gets more shots, no rerolls though.
Yeah, it gets 12 shots total to do that.
Yeah, and then a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm like, you know, I really think that they're gonna update those little auto cannons on that grav tank, make it a little something different.
It's actually spicy about that. We're talking about a strat. It was in the Dreadnought attachment, the 1DP one they talked about. It's actually Solar Spirit at home. It has a strat to gain +6 shots if you take the pew 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 gun, or +2 shots if you take the autocannon. The pew 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 gun is the spice one because that's an actual niche that custodians don't have. It's the same reason I brought up like the flamer ladies, is we have an ass load of mid to low strength multiple damage shots. Like we have a shit ton of like 412, 512, whatever. It's everywhere in the codex. You can't get enough of it. It's like a 913 profile is fine, but it's not something we're vying for. But horde killing dumbass shots, like the only thing you have in your codex are Alaris, and if Alaris aren't shooting character units specifically, they're doing 0 damage. So like a unit, if you take a Telemon, if he's like playable 2 guns, he gets 36 shots at 611 dev wounds, and as we know, strength 6 is a lot better next edition. And then he moves 10 if you play the detachment, he gets +1 advanced charge, so he's like really efficient for like, you know, he can just move 10 inches onto an easy midfield point on turn 1. I assume most of them are usually within 10 of the deployment zone, and just punch it and shoot his little 36 shots through and go beep, 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 and kill. And he has 2 guns, so you can kill 2 units at once very easily. So that's and he has his little disc gun, missile launcher. It's like, I don't know, D6 +3 shots or something at whatever. So that's a cool little niche we could be doing. Like I said, it's not really a thing we have access to before.
G6 +3 blast 501.
Yeah, something like that. It used to be 10 shots at like 511. That's what it was in 9th edition. Also, the flamer was insane compared to what it is now. It was like a D6 flamer at like 721. Like I said, when strength 7 was the toughness of most vehicles in the game.
Yeah.
Double fist Telemon was a lot of fun in 9th edition.
Jukari Venoms never knew what hit him.
Yeah, just one shot. Yeah,
But,
look forward to that. Like any of these vehicles get infinitely better next edition. Like I said, 2-up save vehicles get probably worse because they are the biggest beneficiaries of +1 save cover in the game. But custodian vehicles love tow in, and especially since a lot of us have fly, they love the fly change. Fly means if you spend 2 of your movement, you just go through terrain or models. There's a nerf though. If you want to fly over models, you still have to spend 2 inches. But that's very good for things like the Catalyst and the Land Raider and Mr. Telemon. So that'll be nice to see. And bikes, especially if we get some way to like, you know, react and move bikes efficiently or fire and fade bikes efficiently. You can tow in your 4-man bike squad if you have a character, shoot through it, do 0 damage, and then walk out, which is nice.
All right. No, and as you guys can tell, there is a lot of hype and hope for this faction, despite its kind of stagnation. That's kind of going into our last segment. We've kind of touched on it throughout because, as we said, putting it politely, this army has had a very dynamic run through 10th. Kind of going into, well, before we get to that, actually, there's one more section I almost forgot, and that is, the pros of Custodes, the things someone maybe either just starting out or looking to, pick it up as an army or faction.
Cheapest army to be in.
It's one of the most deceptively simple armies in the game. Like it's
every melee is the same.
It's you're playing a lot of data sheets that are all fundamentally similar, like a warden and a guard and a lairist are not fundamentally different data sheets. So it's very simple to baseline learn. It's hard to master. So that's very good. That's always what you want. It's innately cheap. That's what people always talk about. Depending on the meta you're in, like right now, it's not as cheap to play custodians because you want land raiders and guard. But especially with the upcoming boxes, like the 6-man boxes are very efficient because you can always get a max squad of dudes plus a character from the new 6-man boxes. That's really good. So they're just innately cheap to get into. Like I said, even at the highest end, a custodian army right now is 6 boxes of guard and 3 land raiders, and then a couple sisters. That's still, like, for a hyper competitive army, very cheap. So very cheap, easy to get into, easy to learn, and simple in general. And if you like melee, it's another separate, but melee has been kind of limp dick to say the least in 10th edition. It's been really hard at melee, but custodians have always been, if they have done nothing at all, they're good at killing the shit out of people in melee, even in 10th edition. So if you like punching people in melee with big beefy men, it's very fun. So those are all a lot of the pros of the army. The cons of, you are one of the least efficient shooting armies in the game. Like technically you can take Cowls, Grav Tanks, and Land Raiders, but that's all you have for long length shooting. Custodians are just very weak to long range shooting in general. They are the most pre-measurable and least dynamic movement based army in the game. You move 6 and you shoot people and charge them. That is it. So they're very hard at doing the actual movement correctly. So you gotta use terrain and transports very efficiently. It can be hard. And then, though, like I said, melee is always the hardest thing in 40k. It's about to be a lot harder than it is 2. So if you're an army that is like 80% melee, you're innately harder to like perform well. Like I said, they're easy to get into, but perform well can be a lot harder. And then another thing is elite armies are both incredibly easy to play and incredibly hard to play, depending on how you are as a player and what your meta is. If you are an army of like 20 models and you don't really know how to play into shooting armies, you can get tabled in 3 seconds. That is another like con that can come up to like the layman person. I think those are pretty good pros and cons of both the armies.
Absolutely.
Jake, any other maybe pros or some pitfalls or maybe some caution to newer players or faction enthusiasts?
I mean, Steve pretty much said it all. I just feel like, as a hyper elite army, you go and you have a lot of people who go and, like you said, when you got so few units and then you go and accidentally blunder a unit and a half because you just messed up and you goofed one way or another, right? There goes half your army. Very roll force.
Indeed.
Yeah. Hit, wound, save. If you just roll 4s, you'll do very good in every phase.
There you go. Yeah. See, technically, if you roll enough 4s, by theory, you're almost unbeatable.
You can't lose. OP.
Yeah.
Yep.
204 up, dude. What are we doing?
Another pro for this army on the topic of getting into it. You prime your army gold and you are like 85% done. Paint the sword metal, paint the tuft, whatever color you want.
If you don't mind the gold scheme, it's very easy to paint.
Yeah. So that is also another, like, you get, and there are some fantastic gold primers of many different brands. So this army, not only is it quick to collect and relatively cheap for a 40k army, it is quick to get tabletop ready.
He's pretty much done.
Yeah. Like, you just got just base it. Like, while your primer is drying, base them, then you're good. You're so good. You're good. That's just another pro. A con, I will say, to touch on the double-edged sword of like an elite style army, whether you do big bricks or many like MSU with vehicles or a more balanced force like Jake has talked about, is knowing what each of your units' job is. On this channel a lot, and I'm sure you both can attest on across multiple factions. Usually, you want your units to be doing 2 or 3 things, because every model by issue of or by the fact that it is a model.
Arm helmet that Steve was talking about.
Yeah, that's such a term.
Do they not have wings?
No.
No, they have a unique head.
I'm thinking of the Venatari. Yeah,
Those guys are dead.
no, yeah.
Rip Sagittarius.
But with Custodes, you kind of have to know what each of their job is going to be, and it is on your. This is the, hard part I've seen from Custodes players is executing that, despite whatever your opponent throws at you, which can be the tricky part. Where if you misuse them or misplace them or just make a goof, that unit was wasted, even if it doesn't die.
True.
And so that's just something else to watch out for. You might have games where you feel unbeatable and you did everything you wanted to and you felt like you couldn't be stopped. You might have other games where maybe you misdeployed or misread what your opponent could do, and it felt like you didn't have a way out once turn 1 started. So
don't deploy your Custodes on the line.
The hell?
Yeah, I would.
That's why I said it.
Yep.
That's why I said it.
Incorrect. Be a man.
That's for cowards. Also, just to back up Jake's thing, Constantine Valdor is an awesome character, and actually has some not only evolving but actually interesting 40k lore, which is super rare for a character, believe it or not.
Indeedy.
So
back,
he's
baby.
just a cool guy himself. But with that, unless there's anything else you gentlemen want to touch on, we had a very thorough episode, very in-depth. Any other words of wisdom or cool rules, cool faction or lore snippets for the faction you want to share with the audience? Jake will
make all your custodians female so people get mad and laugh at their rage. There you
custodian boob plate for sure. Honestly,
all
you
of
can
them.
The sister heads that don't have helmets, you just put them on your custodians.
Easy. If your opponent gets mad at you, they're a nerd, and then you get to beat them. There you go.
Mr. Jake?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, this has been quite informative. And once again, we have Jake, who you can catch on multiple Discord servers. Just hunt him down, like the world's deadliest game. It's fine. And then we have Mr. Steve Trimble here. He has his YouTube channel, Deploy on the Line, and Discord of the same name. Again, highly recommend you go give him a check out. His content is amazing, and he does good work.
You don't want to find out what those crabs do.
You do. Because I would suggest finding out on YouTube at home rather than at an event out on table.
Yeah, someone at this call would never experience that in event. Never ever.
But thank you, gentlemen, very much for coming on here. I appreciate it. Lewis appreciates it as well, and hopefully, the audience will appreciate your insight and maybe motivate some people to either go to or come back to the Golden Boys, especially going into a new edition with so many possibilities on the horizon. It is every faction's oyster, and a month in, we'll all see why Eldar are still the best again.
Looking forward to that one.
I was here for 9th and 10th. Let's not pretend that 10th or 10th was the only edition they were overpowered on release. It
always happens usually.
But other than that, unless you gentlemen have anything else, I thank you for your time. And for you guys out there, make sure if you like the video to like the video for us. Let YouTube know we're pretty cool. Leave some comments if you have some other thoughts or questions, or just some experiences and stories you want to share. We always appreciate to hear all of it. And me myself, I'm on the Onslaught Discord. Just look up my name, Regal, and you can get a hold of me pretty easily. And with that, I hope everyone has a good night. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank all of you at home, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye, guys.